Hi, this is Swan with Swan Amity Studios, and thank you for joining me as we are continuing to stitch out all of the decorative stitches on the B-77 Bernette. We are starting today's video with stitch number 161. Let's stitch. Now this is another one where I'm going to keep a light touch on the machine or on the fabric as it moves through the machine. As it's moving the fabric back and forth to execute the stitch, we want to make sure that we're just guiding and we're not putting a whole lot of pressure on anything. In our previous couple videos, we've been looking at a few stitches that are relatively simple, easy, and quick stitch outs. This one is going to take us just a little bit longer, but not as long as some of our more detailed stitches. So this one is actually very fun. I'm enjoying that as we look at this one, we're going to see there's only one pass of thread on the left-hand side, two passes of thread on the right-hand side. And I'm a big fan of that kind of variation, seeing a slightly lighter line on one side and a slightly denser line on the other one. I automatically think of how much fun that is, especially dependent on the thread that you choose. We're going to label this one 161, and this is a stitch that starts right in the center, so we're going to mark that as the middle and the default stitch. Very nice. I'm going to keep that one in mind both for apparel and for quilting. I think that will be fun. We're going to scoot over to 162. And this is one I've been kind of looking forward to. I think it is going to be useful in a lot of different ways. Let's go ahead and drop our needle in. And I'm going to take note that this one starts just a little bit to the left of center. So let's stitch. Now this one, again, we're looking at something just a little more complex. It's not quite as large a movement of the fabric back and forth through the machine, so I feel like this one is a little easier to pay attention to, but it is a higher density, so it's going to take a little longer to stitch out than some of the things we've been doing in just the last couple videos. Any of those denser stitches that you choose, you're going to want to pay attention to how much time they take. These still execute very quickly though, not terribly worried about how much time it is, but it's a good thing to keep in mind. For those of you wondering what thread we've been using, if you haven't watched the earliest videos, we are working with a 50 weight cotton that is a 3-ply cotton, and it is coming from Wonderfill. One of the things I like about this particular cotton is that it does have a really nice sheen on it, and it picks up light really nicely. This one did not snip super well, so let's give that an additional snip there. And that looks really fun. Once again, similar to our previous stitch, we have a lighter side and we have a double pass line on the other side. So we're getting a little change in density along the stitch. I think that's really fun. And yes, I'm definitely going to be using that one in the future. Let's mark our number, 162. This one starting from the left-hand side, and this is the default stitch. Like we said on the previous video, I'm often looking for stitches that have a straight line edge for stitch stacking. And if you're curious about stitch stacking, stay tuned. We will be having a video talking about stitch stacking and giving you some great ideas for how to play with that. Let's go ahead and drop in to start stitch number 163. This one is starting from the center line. Let's see what we get. This one is stitching very quickly, especially in comparison to our slightly more dense previous stitch. So we're going to go through this one a little faster. The movements in the machine are not jerky. And once again, I'm just keeping light pressure on my fabric sandwich. I haven't mentioned it for a while, so I will say that the fabric sandwich is a leftover batik. It's a Hoffman batik from the 1895 watercolor line. And the batting in my sandwich is a 100% bamboo batting from Winline Textiles, which I use in place of stabilizer when I test any of my stitches and make sure that they work really well. Leftover batting is something that we generally have access to and doesn't require us to use up our stabilizer hoard. So there we have it. That is a nice doubling up of the stitch on this side, single layer of the stitch on the other side. So similar to what we have been looking at with a single layer and a double layer. Again, I'm really liking the look of this stitch, and this one is really making me think, once again, a little bit about the desert, but also in this case, I'm really thinking apparel. I really think that is a nice idea, both for a wearable or for a bag. Would really like that in a bag too. 163 is our stitch today, and we are starting from the middle. This is the default size. I would like also to see that one a little more open. So the bigger the stitch, the more open it is. I would try that one again, but wider or a little elongated. Thank you for joining me, and stay tuned. Our next video, we'll be looking at 164 through 166.